Hey family, thank you for joining me. I'm the Poly Patriot and I'm glad to have you here. Today we've got Stephen A. Smith, sports analyst, coming out talking about the Trump dance, Kamala Harris and her spending and how awful she did with her campaign, and telling us all what we need to be doing to grow and move on from the previous election. Let's take a look.
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. The NFL says they have no issue with players doing the signature dance of President-elect Donald Trump during their on-field celebrations. Players like Nick Bosa from the Niners, Raiders tight end Brock Bowers, and Titans receiver Calvin Ridley are just a few of the players that have mocked the president-elect's signature moves. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in case you haven't seen Donald Trump's signature move, even though he's the one doing it right there, right now, at UFC 309 at Madison Square Garden this past
first off,
weekend,
just real quick, they are not mocking him, all right? That is not, and maybe he just misspoke, right? They're not mocking. They're emulating him, right, and honoring him because they love the guy, and they're glad that he won, and so they're doing it, right? So not a mock.
One of, if not the greatest MMA fighter in history, John Bones Jones, did it after defeating Stipe Miocic in the third round there with Trump sitting ringside. You saw it right there. Let me tell you something. Here's why I'm pissed off.
So that did happen. John Jones, arguably the GOAT of MMA, did it. And not only did he do the dance, but his post-fight speech, he spoke about a number of things. More importantly than Trump, he spoke on his relationship with God and how through Jesus Christ, all things are possible. All right. So, which is, those are already two huge things that are probably never going to be spoken of on mainstream media or attempted to be, right? Glorifying God, glorifying Jesus, which apparently seems to be taboo now in our society, and then mentioning and honoring Donald J. Trump, all right? And for those of you guys that don't know, a lot of athletes, and I would say predominantly most of the MMA community, which in my eyes is one of the hardest sports to not only compete in, but to train for. And a wide variety of them are Trump supporters because at the inception of MMA, when they were just getting started, when you couldn't even get it on live TV because of how brutal they thought it was, Trump opened up his doors to allow for them to have a venue when no other place would allow for them to have it. So a lot of people like Dana White and many of the fighters honor him and thank him for helping them, which is now the fastest growing sport in the world. All right, let's continue.
That the NFL had to even issue a statement about it because celebrations usually don't warrant that. It doesn't require a response from the league. So why was it necessary this time? You know why? Because we got a bunch of people still living with their heads in the cloud, acting like they get to protest every little damn thing. This is America. Donald Trump won the election, rather convincingly, I might add. Now, I didn't vote for him, and I've been on the record stating that. I'm not backing up from that. I didn't vote for him because I don't think he's presidential. I don't think his behavior, rather, is presidential. I think the president...
All right. And one, Stephen A. has every right to say that, right? It is his opinion. The First Amendment allows him the opportunity to speak his mind about how he feels, right? And so it's his decision to back or not back Donald Trump, which I'm totally okay with, right? But I wonder who he did. Like, did you vote for Hillary Clinton? Did you vote for Joe Biden? Because if we look over the past 4 years, what about Biden's campaign or Biden's presidential run would you say is presidential? When he was sitting there talking about little kids rubbing his legs, about corn pop, when he said that if you don't vote for him, you're not black. I mean, what parts of it? Him sleeping during like global meetings, him fumbling over his words during basically every single interview he's ever had for the last 5 years. What was it? because we don't know, and I don't even think so. A lot of the rhetoric that people like to blame Trump for, and they think he's not presidential. Okay, it's because you're going off of mainstream media and what they're giving you, right? The tidbits of pieces that you're seeing him speak, which is taken usually completely out of context, but also it's that you're not informing yourself well enough on the issues. And if you know that results is what pushes things, not words, then you would know that you should truly be following and supporting Donald Trump.
Is a statesmanship position. I think it's important to galvanize folks and to bring them together as opposed to contributing to divisiveness. But he won. And I have no problem accepting the fact that he won fair and square in romp-like fashion, I might add. And he's worthy of being the president of the United States according to the voters. They have spoken. They spoke emphatically, not just in red states, but in blue states as well, in battleground states as well. He won. There's no debate. There's no controversy. There's no anything. He won convincingly. So to me, that says that the American people have made their choice. I got news for you. Football players are usually American people. So are basketball players. So are UFC fighters. They got a right to support who the hell they want, without the league needing to send in a response. I didn't see a response from the UFC. You know why? Because Dana White wouldn't entertain it. Dana White would not entertain it. Because he don't play that nonsense. He's going to support who he's going to support. He's not going to apologize for it, as most American citizens should feel free to do. And why am I ticked off? Because it was emblematic of the climate that we've been living in for years now, which is why I believe Donald Trump was really elected. Yeah, it was inflation. That was an issue. The economy, that was an issue. The border, that was an issue. But woke culture, cancel culture, oh, hell yes, that played a role. Well, you got people walking around wondering whether or not they're echoing the right pronoun, wondering whether or not that was going to cost them their job, or being PC because, God forbid, your opinion is different than the average folk walking around in America. Lord knows what would happen to you. That's what America regressed to. And because of that, I believe, is a big reason why Donald Trump, on January 20th, will be inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States of America.
Now, if Stephen A. doesn't get canceled for this, I mean, I'll be honest, if he was a few shades lighter, I'm pretty sure Stephen A. would be walking himself out of ESPN and no longer there, because ESPN is owned by Disney, and Disney does not like a Trump. All right. But everything he is saying in there, super factual. All right. We had issues with our economy, with the border, with the healthcare, with the cost of everything. Right. But most of all, it's been this ongoing spewing of this woke mentality culture that's been spreading all over. I mean, they've been going after our children with gender affirming. They've been going after our rights on what to say and how we're supposed to speak to certain people and to speak at all. They've been trying to cancel anybody who thinks otherwise differently from them. So, man, kudos to Stephen A. for speaking out about this, because this is not something that someone with that big of a platform, that big of a name, is really willing to come out and say that, especially when they are not confidently sitting on the right. Right? Like, this is expected of someone who's known, like a Dana White, right? Who is a known Trump supporter. I believe he's a Republican. He's spoken on Republican principles over and over and over. And he does not like any of the woke culture. And he is very, very clear about that. But for Stephen A. to come out here and say some of these things, man, it's refreshing to hear that, because when you look at like athletes, right, they're able to sit there and wear the end racism, go on a knee and dispute the anthem, the national anthem, which really has nothing to do with like protesting your freedom or your rights, right? If anything, it's the opposite, right? And then have a problem with Nick Bosa, right? Who is the defensive end for the San Francisco 49ers, wearing a MAGA hat, right? And getting fined for that. Like, why? Why? You see some of this other stuff that some of these guys wear. I mean, not only is some of it like ridiculously ugly, but they're literally sitting there protesting other things, which the NFL has no problem with, which is crazy when you think about the NFL, because it's predominantly watched by men, and not like men who like worry about their pronouns. I mean like men, like beer drinking, hard blue collar working, grown ass men. You know what I mean? So like for them to put so much emphasis and worry on this small demographic of people who do not even account for, I would say, even a quarter of their revenue. It's weird, you know. It's like it's something else has to be going on that we're not aware of, or that maybe we are. Some of us are. In regards to why they're doing what they're doing.
I'll continue with that opinion in just a second, but I wanted to move on to this right here. Because did y'all see this report that Vice President Kamala Harris paid Oprah Winfrey's production company nearly $2.5 million for her support during the campaign? Initial reports said the Harris campaign shelled out $1 million. However, two sources told the New York Times that Winfrey's production company was actually paid closer to the $2.5 million. That number pales in comparison to the estimated $1.5 billion that Harris and the Democrats spent in their failed campaign to win the White House. Why would that piss me off? Why?
Billion.
Does Oprah Winfrey we talk about? What the hell is your production company doing getting anything from the Harris campaign? This is the same Oprah Winfrey that has donated to Cory Booker's campaign in the past. Remember Senator Carol Mosley Braun? Oprah Winfrey donated to her campaign when she was running for the U.S. Senate. Remember when Barack Obama won the presidency in 2008? They said at the time reportedly that Oprah Winfrey's impact equated to more than 1 million votes in his favor over Hillary Rodham Clinton in the Democratic primary. So here you are, donating to Democrats all over the place, which, by the way, Oprah Winfrey has done for decades. You giving money. You giving money. Think about this. Remember Stacey Abrams in Georgia? According to reports, Oprah Winfrey gave her over $10 million. I've got the news right in front of me. The donations highlighting the things that she has done for candidates she has supported. What's the theme here, ladies and gentlemen? Oprah is usually doling out money. But now your production company is getting a piece, which is pennies to Oprah Winfrey. And she issues the statement talking about it wasn't to her, it was to her production team, and oh, by the way, they had to be paid. End of story. That is not the end of the story. That is not the end of the story. The fact of the matter is, your production company took when you have a history spanning decades of giving, not taking. Is it possible that you were taking because you had to be sold on supporting Kamala Harris? That the level of fervor that you had for all of those other candidates that you contributed to in the past far eclipsed the level of support that you really, really felt towards her? Why would I bring that up? Play that sound for me again with what Oprah Winfrey said the day before the election on the campaign trail for Kamala Harris. Could you play that sound for me again, please, to refresh everybody's memory? Play it again.
If we don't show up tomorrow, it is entirely possible that we will not have the opportunity to ever cast a ballot again. And let me be very clear. If you do not make sure that the people in your life can get to the polls, that is a mistake. Deciding not to decide, that is most definitely a vote to let other people control your future.
See that? You see it? Yes, she was trying to get people to go out to the polls, but we know who she wanted us to go to the polls to support. That was a scare tactic. Let's call it what it is. It was a scare tactic. We're suddenly going to be deprived of our right to vote.
So not only does Oprah come out and offer a scare tactic telling us that if we don't go out and vote, we might not ever be able to go out again. Former President Barack Obama comes out and says to predominantly to black men that you need to vote for this black woman to support your own kind and to make sure that the guy over there on the right doesn't have a chance to win this, right? It's crazy what we've allowed, and I feel like people's eyes are opening. I feel like, even for myself, right? I wanted to start this like this 4 years ago, during the pandemic when I couldn't do anything. I'm a trainer by trade, and I couldn't train anybody because I was locked into my house because they wouldn't allow us into the gyms, right? And I so wanted to get out there and start doing it, and I just didn't feel the need to because I was so focused on trying to raise my family. But what I just so happen to realize is that, you know what? Like, more of us need to speak out because there are more of us out there than we realize, right? These football players, right? There are these MMA guys. There's more of us than there really is. Okay. They had to pay this woman, Oprah Winfrey, money just to come out and speak. I mean, I think they paid, I might be wrong, but Beyonce like $3 million. She spent $1.5 billion over a 6-month span and has nothing to show for it. No receipts. So if you can't even run your campaign properly, a $1.5 billion, we can't even fathom how much money that is, right? If you can't even like manage your campaign, how are you going to manage the country, right? Let alone you were the border czar for the past 4 years and have done nothing for it. Okay. And so it's time that we come out. It's time that we start opening up our eyes. It's time that we stop allowing for a lot of the things that are said and the mindsets of when you hear Trump or when we talk about race or when we talk about the economy to just immediately jump on one side. And let's find the side of truth. Let's lean towards truth. Let's call it what it is. All right. So big shout outs to Stephen A. Smith on doing this. Super happy to be hearing someone at his level of his platform coming out and speaking out against, who are probably some of his friends. He probably knows a lot of the people and they have connections and whatnot. So like much respect to him and much respect to you all for supporting me. Again, I'm the Poly Patriot. Please like, subscribe, comment. I'm here on a journey and I hope that you stay along with me. So have a great one, guys. Bye-bye.